Om Sadashiv Samarambam Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Param Ishvaro Guratmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomabda Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Savavedanta Sedanta Gocharam Tamagocharam Govindam Paramanandam Satguru Pranatosh Maham Om Shanti 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 Om Namaste. Verse 35, page 125. The non-dual Atma, which is divisionless and which is free from the world, is indeed seen by the sage who are free from attachment, fear, and anger, and who are well educated in the Vedas. Okay, so the non-dual self, which is not a totality made out of divided parts. It's divisionless, means to say it is a partless whole, as we say. It's non-dual because it's the only reality, one without a second, and which is free from this meteor world and is seen by the yanis. So what makes some people see, quote unquote, this Atma, and some other people not see the Atma? So one has to develop the Upanishadic vision in order to see the Atma shining at all times in the human intellect and shine on all living creatures and shine even in the inert universe of inert objects. I'm just airplane mode. So it's seen by the yanis, and then it completes in this verse that the yanis are able to see the self first because they are well educated by the Vedas, and this process of education, which involves Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana, conduce the yani, produce detachment, non-attachment, and all the other disturbance which are commonly defined as the illness of samsara, desires, fear, irritation, anger, and many other human emotions that compromise the human body mind. Okay. Let's see. Anything else from you guys you see in this verse? Is it easy or is it difficult to see the self, intellectually speaking? It is difficult if one is not fully qualified, if one is still under the spell of ignorance, which causes desires, fears, attachment, and the disease called samsara. But if one is mature and qualified, it's the easiest thing to realize, because as we know, it's that which is always ever present. I'm just, why is this thing happening here? I have closed everything. Okay, Gaudapada says that this teaching is profound. And he points out again and again in the Mandukya, Karika, that understanding it intellectually, academically, is just the beginning. But then once one has to grasp it to develop a complete vision, understanding of reality. And this vision must be retained. Assimilation is there, but this assimilation needs to be retained. And this is only possible, the retention is the key here. It's only possible, the retention, if one has lived a certain life by which one develops maturity and the qualities required for the retention of self-knowledge at all times. And doubtless self-knowledge, which is available at all times. That's why the Vedas never touch Advaitam initially. Only the Vedanta does so. And as we know, Vedanta does so from the very beginning, but only to present the ultimate reality and then back off a little bit, and then present all the qualifications and the sadhanas by which we get qualified. We see that in the Bhagavad Gita. And even in the Jnana Yoga, we say that, yes, okay, you came to the Jnana Yoga of Vedanta, but you have a sadhana to do here. Your sadhana is no longer doing things to produce a result, which is an improvement of your body-mind. But you're not going to do things. You're going to reflect on these teachings. And the result is going to be a deeper and deeper understanding of your true nature. It's altogether a different sadhana. The Veda does not begin with the teachings of the Advaita because at the beginning people do not have the qualifications. But the section of the Veda at the very end, it's all about Advaitam. Very few people understand this teaching, the Advaita teaching. Only rare qualified people can grasp, understand this non-dual Turiya consciousness that is divisionless, in which even such a mithya difference cannot be talked about, and in which there is no universe at all. So this is the good news, but it is a shocking good news that most people are not prepared to receive. Such and mithya, so I'm doing my whole life this discrimination between such and mithya, and now you say that such and mithya is still more anathema, more mithya teachings that have to be retracted at the very end, because mithya is as good as non-existent. Okay, we are just trying to discriminate reality from unreality, because in the beginning, the students, they project reality on anathema. And then since there is a sense of reality in this body-mind and the world perceived through this body-mind, we call it anathema. And we call consciousness, existence of limitless nature, the Atma. And then we go about discriminating, but only because the student still projects reality to the anathema. Once the student has grown in vairagya, discrimination, and dispassion, one is ready to understand that this universe is just a reflection of superimposition, which is as good as non-existent. And then we can retract this such a mithya discrimination because it has served its purpose. Okay, now the truth is there is no mithya. The body, mind, and the world is just nama rupa. They don't have independent, intrinsic reality to itself. So what is intrinsically reality is your true fundamental essential nature as turiya, as consciousness. Well, you are Satya, and there is only Satya. That is the ultimate truth. Such a mithya difference applies only in the empirical angle of the presentation of the teachings. The qualifications of mind that is not preoccupied with the world involvement. I love this term, involvement. Be in the world, but don't get emotionally involved. You know, if you get involved, you are caught up in the samsara. And it means to say you are attributing reality to an Atma because you got emotionally involved. You know? Of course, all of that is much easier said than accomplished, but that is the goal. So the goal is to live with the certainty of self-knowledge that prevents any possibility of attachment to this mithya project universe. But if we have worldly preoccupations, it means the mind is not yet prepared. It's not deep and subtle enough. It's too shallow, and it requires further purification. Only the mind that does not fall for attachment and everything that comes after that, anxiety, desires, fears, and then dependence, attachment, anxiety, anger. Only a mind that is no longer subject to this cosmic ignorance is available for the final Vedantic Nididhyasana. Pure logic will not take one to this fundamental ultimate truth, pure academic knowledge, pure logic. Both logic and Veda Pramana have to be used for grasping the teaching that is contained in the 5 capsules of Vedanta. Pramana is a vision. In this case, it's present as a vision. Yeah? Only the Jnani can have that vision. Can see this undivided Brahman. So logic, yeah, and the Pramana called the revelations of the Upanishads have to be used in combination. This logic goes to the philosophical, rational, academic teachings of Vedanta, which are not meant to remain as mere philosophy. So it has to grow, it has to be applied in a way that is going to transform the human personality. And that is possible only by Nididhyasana, which is the pramana, which is going to develop the vision, Aham Brahmasmi. So you have the rational, you have the logic, you have the theoretical, academic revelations, but then you need to apply it. You need to digest it, internalize it, process it, moment to moment. So I think we have been touching this subject, that this Nididhyasana may be done in 2 ways. One, as a meditation. I sit in my meditation room and then I just remember the teachings, and I just keep the processing and bringing it in the context of my day-to-day, my very day of experience of interaction with the field. And the other is, I don't have time to spare 1 hour doing this meditation, this contemplation, as privately, okay? So, and then we need to do this nididhyasana through our interactions, okay? Keeping these teachings alive and seeing through, yeah, that Vedantic vision, and therefore again and again very vigilantly correcting, yeah, our conduct, our mistakes, our response, our reactions, yeah, in the light of these teachings in regard to my nature, which is already secured, full, and complete. Logic and the Vedantic pramada have to be used, combined, so that I can understand the teachings of the 5 capsules of Vedanta. I am the nature of eternal, all-pervading consciousness. I am the only source of permanent peace, security, and happiness. By my mere presence, I give life to the material body, and through this physical body, I experience the physical universe. I am never affected by any event that happens in this material world or in the material body-mind complex. I'm never affected by the experience of the body-mind complex. The body-mind complex and its experience, it's a flow of in constant change, but I do not change. And anything that happens to this instrument of experience knowledge and the field of experience knowledge, any change does not change me, does not affect me. I'm free. This is one of the best meanings of moksha and freedom, because we can say that moksha is freedom from ignorance, is freedom from suffering, and this is the one that I find the most profound, is I'm free from change. The whole world change, and this instrument of knowledge experience change, but I am changeless, divisionless consciousness. I'm free from change. By forgetting my real nature, I convert life into a burden. And by remembering my real nature, I convert life into a blessing. This fifth point here is the one that describes the assimilation and retention of self-knowledge. So one does not forget one's real nature. One has converted life into a blessing because one's knowledge is not subject to forgetfulness. It's firm. Otherwise, life is a burden. Okay, carry on. Swami Paramarthananda further commenting. By the word turiya is meant the observer consciousness principle. I am Satyam. The world is Mithya. My body-mind is Mithya. Mithya is an object of experience, and that is the definition of a Mithya. Anything that can be objectified, known, and experienced. And the nature, the true nature of the knower / experiencer is Satya, is Turiya. Mithya was highlighted in the 2nd chapter, which is the chapter that we are covering now. And Atma is the Satyam. Anatima is another name for the Mithya world. In the 3rd chapter, the Atma, which is reality, is going to be our main topic. And we are going to enter next week, the 3rd chapter. Anatima is Mithya, but we need to really look, investigate, analyze the nature of anatima so that we can be fully satisfied with the conviction that anatima is almost as good as non-existent. is not going to resolve me. It's not going to give me the security and peace that I'm searching for, because I'm searching for in the anatma world, the mithya world. So mithyattvam, the nature of mithya, is what we have been covering in this second chapter. The nature of satya is going to be the most exciting chapter of this Karika. I have done it in Portuguese. It's really very, very beautiful. And as I said, we will begin next week. Gaudapada used the dream word many times as an example to show that the awakened world is as well a dream-like. It's a mithya. Therefore, whenever we have a doubt about the nature of mithya during my awakening transactions, I should remember this teaching and compare the dream world with the waking world. The dream world is experienced. It serves from transaction. It has a certain utility, okay? And the dreamer never questioned the reality of the dream world. So likewise, the awakening world is available for appearance, experience, transaction, and serves certain utilities, but only within the awakening state, within the experience of the Vishwa. So it's very similar. The awakening world is real only from the standpoint of the Vishwa, and the dream world is absolutely real, but only from the standpoint of Taijasa. This is the key to understand that both are mithya world, both are dreamlike, both are just appearance. They enjoy some conditional status, conditional reality, which is mithya. Is a great definition of mithya is that which enjoys a certain reality, status of reality, but is conditional. Reality can never be under the condition of any factors or circumstance. Reality is reality. It's just it's not dependable on anything. What is real at all times, never change, and it's not a byproduct of certain other realm of reality. What is real is the source of existence of any and all phenomena in the world. Mithya is called conditional reality. Satyam is consciousness, turiya, the observer of all mithya realities. I, the self, I, the Atma. All of these we have seen up to the verse 34. Now, Gaudapada winds up the chapter by talking about sadhana. Very nice. So now that we have learned so much, now we're going to have some verse dedicated to what we can do to be finally stably and firmly established with this conviction of self-knowledge. The entire range of sadhana is present in the following 4 verses. Pay attention. The first sadhana described is karma yoga, for the preparation of the mind to accept any and all results of one's actions. Otherwise, one is always anxious in respect to one's parabhada. Once you understand that you have no saying, you have no control, at the most you can present your actions, your response, in harmony with Dharma and in harmony with your desired result, but with the clear understanding that only Ishvara is going to produce the palam, karma datta palam. The only factor, this Ishvara system, this living, conscious, self-conscious being. So only through karma yoga, I will gain equanimity of mind, and such a mind will become free from likes and dislikes, anxiety and fear and anger. So to live is a process by which we develop likes and dislikes, preference, and aversions as well. Humanly, it's almost impossible to avoid that. And when we really examine the teachings of Vedanta, the most fundamental thing is this one: Vasana formation. Why I develop binding likes and binding dislikes if I do not have control over the field of experience? Why to be attached to a certain experience if I have no control to produce just those experiences that makes me satisfied? So this is a very basic teaching, but extremely profound. So we need to offset this huge ignorance, universal cosmic ignorance that produce likes and dislikes, and somehow develop equanimity in respect to our experience in life. We have to put aside our likes and dislikes, our demands, you understand? Otherwise, we're going to be frustrated, angry, disturbed, irritated, depressed. How are we going to do that? The answer is Karma Yoga. Understand the system, cause and effect, actions and results, and the way our actions are going to contribute to our Prarabdha, but we will never be able to control our Prarabdha. We experience samsara, this problem, which is originated by desires and fears. We experience 4 levels or 4 stages of samsara. We have a sense of limitation. And this limitation, it's a powerful frustration, that causes a sense of helplessness. This helplessness often leads to anger and indignation. I don't know if there is such a word in English. Anger leads to frustration, which leads also and often to depression. All of these are the natural tendencies of all minds under the spell of ignorance, of vidya. And we are talking about an ignorance in respect of the Ishvara system. We are not talking about the fundamental ignorance in respect to one's true nature as Turiya. Therefore, it's absolutely important we remove our ignorance in respect to Ishvara Jiva Jagat, this mithya apparent reality, so that the mind may develop equanimity. Equanimity is much easier to be developed and much more naturally with Karma Yoga rather than with deep meditation, because you are addressing the fundamental cause of equanimity or mental disturbance. You are just addressing the fundamental cause. I have the illusion that I can control my Prarabdha, and nobody is going to convince me otherwise. And in the process, not only I can't control my Prarabdha, but I begin violating the fundamental laws of this apparent universe, which further destroys my mind. Therefore, Karma Yoga helps one to get out of this fundamental ignorance, this tendency, to a great extent, by understanding Ishvara, Prasada. Everything is to be seen as an opportunity, Prasada, an opportunity to revise, an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to grow in our understanding. Karma Yoga is the first level of sadhana through which a person becomes Vita, Raga, Bhaya, Krodha. He becomes free from the illness or sickness referred to as samsara. The next stage is upasana, Ishwara upasana. By seeing everything as sacred, a person does not resist or hate anything. One accepts what comes as it is. The mind gets refined through this upasana. Karma Yoga gives purification of mind. Upasana gives one-pointedness of mind and expansion of the mind. So how so the mind expands? Expands because the Vedantic Upasana involves an object of meditation, which is Ishwara. And usually we begin from a denser aspect of Ishwara, and then gradually we move to a subtler and subtler and subtler and subtler aspect of Ishwara until we are just meditating on our own nature as Turiya, which is Brahman, which is the most subtle of the subtle. The mind has to become very subtle to expand in a way that it can focus into these attributes of myself as Brahman. After Karma Yoga and Upasana Yoga, the seeker goes to Jnana Yoga and gets the Vedantic knowledge. And then this most fundamental point, without religious life, the spirituality is impossible. Everybody who wants to get by as non-religions, and getting moksha and so on, and should consider this statement often presented by Swami Paramarthananda. Without a religious attitude, what is this religious attitude? Devotion. Devotion is the most fine, the finest of all human emotion. If we have not converted our human emotions, which are all based on my likes and dislikes, if we don't convert those emotions into gratitude, reverence, to life itself, to the Creator itself, so we are dealing with emotions that are going to keep disturbing my mind because I did not purify my human emotions, convert them into devotion, gratitude, receiving things as prasada, as an opportunity, offering my response. My response is conformed with the laws, sustaining this meteor universe, structuring. So I live in harmony with the laws of Ishwara, and I have an attitude of gratitude rather than demand. So without this Karma Yoga spirit attitude, spirituality is basically impossible. I'm sorry to say that, says Swami Paramarthananda indirectly. If you want to reject God, Saguna Ishwara, if you don't want to go into Mitya, if you don't want to go into Ishwara Jiva Jagata, good luck. But without that profound understanding, and that understanding must sprout with this fragrance, which is the spirit of devotion and gratitude for opportunity. Without spirituality, religious life is incomplete. So this is the other side of the same coin. We begin with religious life, and if we don't move into Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana, until we understand that our true nature, identity, is the spirit of all things, of all universe. Without spirituality, all religious spirit, all devotion remains incomplete. Devotion is not a path to self-knowledge and motion, but devotion is a mean by which we get prepared for Vedanta. Thus, with Shravana and Manana, the knowledge will be received, and conviction of self-knowledge will be attained. Mandukya Upanishad is Shravanam, and Mandukya Karika is Manana, analysis. This is very nice. So we hear the statements of truth, declarations of identity presented in this Upanishad. And then comes Gaudapada and makes analysis on those verses. And that becomes our manana, our contemplation, reflection, analysis of those declarations of identity. The knowledge is I am Turiya Atma. The knowledge consists in claiming that I am the self, Turiya, and I'm not an object of knowledge or experience. How then I'm going to get to know this Turiya Atma if it's not an object of knowledge? And then once again, Swami says that it's not available as an object of knowledge, but it's available to be understood and claimed as your true identity, nature. It's only available for claiming. Yeah? I understood. So I am the consciousness, the Atma, the Turiya, and I'm this witnessing, non-experience consciousness behind, so quote unquote, behind the mind and the intellect. No? And I don't change. And I'm not subject to time and space. So this needs to be claimed. The knowledge consistent, the final nididhyasana consists in claiming I am free limitless consciousness. I am the Turiya Atma. Although I'm not an object of knowledge, what I am is always available as my true nature. It has always been. So all I need to do is to acknowledge it. Recognize that, oh, I was always here, free and independent of this material world. So you can never know the knower. You can never know the true nature of the knower, because if you want to know it objectively, so you are just superimpose Mithya on Satya. You are the conscious existence, the ultimate essential nature of the Jiva Atma. I am the Turiya Atma. Knowing, this is beautiful. Knowing Aham Brahmasmi is identical of claiming I am Aham Brahmasmi. How are you going to know it? Only as my very self. Oh, you know the self? Yes, I know the self. So how did you know the self? Oh, by understand that I am the self. But, so what are you? I say, okay, so come to the Vedanta classes. It's a long story, but it has a happy end. And then so I'm saying something interesting. Knowing is claiming that I am the Turiya. It is an intellectual process. This knowledge happens in the intellect. It is an intellectual process. I require to develop a convincing, doubtless understanding that I am Turiya. It begins as a suggestion, as a notion, as a good idea, but I need to develop this certainty, this conviction in regards to declarations of identity of the Mandukya. Is it an intellectual process? Of course. The intellect is the highest function within the human cognitive experience of life. So without the intellect, we are just like wild animals. without the human intellect. Even with the human intellect, most people, they behave more or less like wild animals. This aparaksha yanan, this direct, immediate self-knowledge, is called darshanam. This turiya is without any division. This turiya is not the Vishwa, Virat, Taijasa, Hiranyagarbha, or Pranya Ishwara, the three other divisions of the self. The self is without division, but for the sake of teachings, we divide the self in three parts, and the fourth principle, which is not a part, but is the substratum of those three divided factors. Even the macrocosm duality is not present in Turiya. In Mitya, in Anatima, we have all these concepts of the macro and the micro. Those divisions belong to this Mitya, Anatima, transactional realm. The Turiya is totally free from any concept, from any division, from any part. It is one without a second, is non-dual. This aparaksha yana is the result of Shravanam and Mananam. The sadhana is not over yet. Nididhyasana needs to be done. So now we have done the process of Shravanam, and then we have followed the analysis of Gaudapada, and we are completing our Mananam. But then it's not over. And the third and final stage of this Vedantic process can only be done by the disciple, by the student, which is Nididhyasana. The scripture can help up to the Mananam, the Guru can help up to the Mananam, and then each one of us need to do this Nididhyasana. Verse 36, therefore, having thus known the self as myself, one should fix the mind on this non-dual self. Having attained this non-dual vision of my own self, one should behave in the world like any other common person. Self-knowledge is a very rare phenomenon. Therefore, we should never expect people to understand you once you have this firm, clear knowledge. Even by have a vasana, a value and a desire to comprehend this knowledge makes us already so far away from the people living around us in the world. It's a very lonely path, but it's very useful, very juicy, because I'm tapping into my true nature as Ananda. Having thus known this self as my own self, we should keep certain discipline of mind and hold it on this vision, Aham Brahmasmi. It's in the back of my mind. I'm interacting with the world because I'm not a sannyasi, but in the back, I fix the mind on the knowledge of my true nature. It's subconscious. It has grown roots in the subconscious mind. You have a properly established vasana in there. And that allows you to drive your car from Seattle to Portland, like I used to do often, without even thinking on how to drive the car. I think we all have this experience. The knowledge is there. It is fixated. It is fixed through this process of internalization of this knowledge until it grows roots in my unconscious mind. Once we have attained this non-dual self, the comprehension, the understanding, we don't expect the world to change, don't expect people to give you recognition or appreciation or validation as a great self-realized Mahatma or anything. You are not going to get it. Very rarely. People are going to develop a value for this Vedantic process, very rarely. And those people are going to see you just as a link in the tradition, because the one passing on this knowledge, although one should be self-realized, it never allows for adoration or anything like that, you know. Adoration is a problem, even if the guru is self-realized. Imagine if everybody start, you know, putting the person in the pedestal, you know, it's dangerous. It's dangerous for the disciples, it's dangerous for the guru as well. You know? So behave in the world like I'm ignorant. Don't expect anything from the world, neither from other people. Having received this knowledge, the knowledge becomes doubtless. The knowledge then must be internalized, must be digested, processed, until one is moving in the day-to-day interaction with life on the binary format presented by Vedanta. Brahman Satya, Aham Brahman, Brahman Satya, and Jagata Mithya. So I am Satya, and the world is Mithya. The world is just a projection happening within myself as conscious existence. If I lose that vision, that binary vision, I will take myself to be Ishvara. I'm going to take myself to be Jiva, and I'm going to be afflicted, trying to control my experience in Jagata, so that circumstance may be favorable to my security and happiness. It will give me much problem and bring back the samsara, and I will feel the sense of victimization. One of the things that I find interesting to notice is the sense of victimization that people have by identifying with the jiva and finding that one's demands are not being met, you know? Oh, why me? This is not fair, and this and that, you know? And in many levels, people do that. So the world becomes a victimizer. Sometimes I project that Ishvara is the victimizer and I am the victimized. No? Since I cannot control my experience of this huge world, I will rush again and again to Ishvara to offer my prayers for protection. I fall back in this triangular Jiva, Jagata, Ishvara. Therefore, Nididhyasana is absolutely compulsory. We should never stop on manana. And Nididhyasana can only be done by ourselves. I need to come to the binary format. I'm not the victimized, and the world is not the victimizer. I do not accept this format. I do not require a savior. I don't even depend on Ishvara. I am the only reality. I am the Brahman, the fundamental, essential nature of Ishvara, Jiva, Jagata. Everything is just names, colors, and forms project within myself as Brahman, even Ishvara. Instead of drawing strength from an external Ishvara, I learn to draw strength from my own higher nature as Ishvara one, or Nirguna Ishvara, or Nirguna Brahman, howsoever. I am the only reality and everything else is nothing but namarupas. When I am shifting from triangular to the binary format, what's happening is the external God becomes my own higher nature. So you transfer your dependence on Ishwara, the karma Paladatta, the creator. Yeah? You shift your dependence to Ishwara, to yourself as Satchitananda. And to be dependent on your true nature is synonymous of what? Independence. And independence is the only freedom there is. Moksha is freedom from dependence. Another nice way to put moksha, my higher nature. That's why the word used in the seventh mantra is Shivan. Turiya is called Shivan. And by these Upanishads, and by these Upanishad, ask not to think of the Lord Shiva as a person sitting remotely. That's only a symbolic representation of the formless Shiva, the formless Brahman, the formless Atma, the self, the only reality, my true essential fundamental nature. We can call it higher nature. Higher nature is a concept that, again, needs to be abandoned later on, because you cannot say that fire has a higher nature and an inferior nature. You understand? So there is only nature, is that without which that thing is not that thing. My true nature, formed external Shiva, is nothing but my own formless Brahman. Therefore, the Jnani draws security and strength not from outside, but from his true nature as Satchitananda. The knowledge in respect to its true nature, once firmly established and retained, this knowledge is the greatest and only support there is. This will get, we will get only by Nididhyasana, the Vedantic practice. Again, this Vedantic practice can be done sitting in your meditation room, or can be done as we go about living our life. Okay. When we do it as going about interacting and navigating the material world, it's often I like to present it as application of knowledge, of self-knowledge. So you remember the knowledge and you apply the knowledge every time that you see ignorance emerging in your mind. When you sit in silence, you remember the teachings and even flash memories of your recent experience in which you were being deceived by Maya, may come. And then in retrospect, you revise your experience and then you understand, that was Maya again, that was a video again, but I'm here to revise my experience and correct my sense of identity so that I can respond to life from that perspective of understanding. So we need to practice this nididhyasana, keeping the binary format at all times. Only then I will be strong, stable, firm, secured. Even if here and there I may go back to the triangle format, no problem, no problem. But gradually one has to move into this binary format until one walks on one's own feet, without depending, not even on Ishvara, the concept of Ishvara. Therefore, one should understand in the manner as taught here in this verse 35 and 36, that Turiya is not an object, not outside myself, not inside myself. Turiya is me. One should recollect the teaching regularly and truly, and then completely and spontaneously remain in that certainty of vision, which is referred here as the binary format. I am Satyan, and the world, phenomenal world, is happening within me. We need not to tell anybody about this, so don't disturb the mind of the ignorant. Don't tell people you are being deceived by Maya, so this is ignorance. No, leave them to Ishvara, as we know. We need not even show this outside, but we need to develop this wisdom for ourselves, as if internally held. Our conviction must be, I am Turiya and I am ever liberated. Moksha is not the goal, but it's my true nature. This is the internal transformation, which is only possible through genuine nididhyasana, intense, systematic, until nididhyasana as a sadhana is no longer necessary, because the knowledge has remained firm and clear and available even when I am transacting. And if by any chance, one offers a reaction which is in contradiction with that certainty of self-knowledge, that appears as an elephant in my living room, and immediately it's correct. You understand? When I'm transacting with the world, what format should I use? Of course, I have to use the triangular format. I have to respect the creator, the other jivas, and the circumstance of Jagata, and offer my actions with a certain attitude, spirit, which is going to benefit everybody. I behave like other people, but my actions, they have a different feel and fragrance to it. And even grosser people are going to sense that something has happened to Lynn, and now she's much nicer, much more wise and friendly and loving. You behave like others, although people with certain sensitivity are going to notice that you are being transformed. Be a Jiva Atma. You know you are the Atma, but accept the disguise as a body-mind to transact in the world. This is what Gaudapada says in this verse. It's like following the traffic rules of the country. You don't try to break the laws. Play your roles in meet your world. Again, just like everybody else, but not exactly like everybody else, because you were transformed by this Vedantic process. And your actions are going to have a positive impact, overall impact. So to live as a Jivatma is not hypocrisy, because it's not done with the ulterior motive of control and manipulate people. It's just living your life from the standpoint of your real nature, which is conformed with the laws and principles of the Mithya world. Conformity is required, and the Jnani should not become a rebel in society. Ooh, this is big. So can you believe that when once I was associated with my first guru, yeah, and he was a rebel, and he wants to, most importantly, was to transform society, transform the world through rebelliousness. And myself and everybody who fell for that cult, so kind of cult, we fell for that definition of spirituality, and it says spirituality must be rebelliousness to change the world. And then later on, when I moved into my second guru in Lucknow, he presented the opposite thing. He said, leave the world alone. Don't try to change it. Don't try to modify anything. Do the internal work, okay? Don't disturb the world. Just like Lord Krishna says in the Gita. Jnani should never become a rebel in society. Gaudapada refers to the Samadhi Adhyasa Rupa Nididhyasana in the first line of this verse, which is taking time to sit in your meditation room and do your Nididhyasana until your mind becomes Samadhi. It sees only Brahman, the only reality, the true nature of all and everything that is superimposed upon myself. So Jesus was described in the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita very extensively, and we are concluding this chapter in Portuguese language, and Felipe has been participating as well. Some exclusive time should be given for this kind of adhyasa, yeah? Dwelling on the teachings in your meditation room. The second line, he refers to another kind of nididhyasana, okay? And remember the teachings even while transacting in the world. Applying the teachings through the transactions of your world until the teaching is there and requires almost no vigilance anymore. In the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, this is talked about. One is closed-eyed meditation, the other is open-eye meditation while interacting with the Mithya world. Okay, so this is it. That takes us to the verse 37, which we'll cover next week. Next week? Yeah, next Monday. Yeah. Anything else? You guys did not say anything today. Everybody in Samad? Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purna Mudachate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishate. Om Shanti 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 Om. Namaste. Thank you, my friends. We meet again Monday. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Arvindo. Wonderful satsang.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Philippe. Thank you, Min. Thank you, Sylvia.